Oh, Andrea Tessmann.
Hi, Kirk Buchner.
Kind of different now that we're doing this sort of face-to-face, huh?
It's a little weird. I don't think I've seen your face in like 4 years or something.
It just looks like every other white guy, really. Not named Brad Pitt, I suppose. I kind of see that I fall down on the pecking order. To Fat Ricky Schroeder, who I think I look better than him now, if you've seen him lately.
I'll give you that for sure.
Yeah, also, I haven't harassed any Costco workers, if you've noticed what he's been up to.
Oh, I have not.
Most people haven't. That might be why he's harassing Costco workers. But we're not here to talk about Ricky Schroeder. I actually have another show tomorrow night where I'm going to bring him up. Which is true. We are going to discuss... Oh, I'm so glad you picked this one. Bill Withers, Lean on Me, the summer of 1972. I've been a fan of his for a long time, but I never did a deep dive into his career. And I guess maybe I wasn't that big. I guess my fandom wasn't that huge. I learned so much stuff from learning about this very interesting man.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I love a few of his songs. Lean on Me or Ain't No Sunshine is, all-time one of my top soul songs. Ultimate breakup song, really. But yeah, I didn't, aside from the fact that I knew he kind of just dropped off the map in the mid-'80s, I didn't really know anything about him. So this was fun.
Yeah, and so I guess we'll just get started to right where he started. I incorrectly assumed that he was going to be from like Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Detroit. I don't know. Just because he's got that deep soul vibe to him, I did not expect a West Virginia root. And from a town I've never heard of. I can't even remember the name of the town.
Pork Bend or something like that.
Pork Bend, Pig Puke. Whatever it is, it's just like something that
it's a mining town through and through, to the point that there was even like all of the houses were owned by the mine, and the company store that was owned by the mine. Like, these people were literally slaves to the mine.
Mm-hmm. And so we have Bill Withers, who working class guy. I thank you so much for sending me that documentary today.
That's pretty great, wasn't it?
Yeah. If you tell everyone about that documentary, that they should really search out, which I can't believe hasn't gotten more press.
I didn't know anything about it, and then as I was looking stuff up, there's a documentary called Still Bill, which is the name of one of his albums. I can't remember when that album was
Second
released.
album.
And basically it follows him around. It starts off with an interview from him in the 80s, and then it moves to, I think it's from 2015, but to more current day, interviewing him and his family, 10, 20 years or so, can't do the math on that, after he has left the music industry. And it kind of just shows that he's just a normal guy. So his life, basically, he got out of school and wanted to get out of buttfuck nowhere. And so he joined the military, and he became an aircraft mechanic, and did 9 years in the military. And then he got out of the military, and he had a stutter his whole life. So he realized that if he wanted to make anything of his life, he had to get rid of his stutter. So before he got out of the military, he did a lot of work on himself and figured out the triggers for the stutter. That was mostly self-confidence, dealt with that. Then he got a job as he made toilets for Boeings. So I guess he used his aircraft mechanic and got a serious downgrade to a job building toilets for airplanes, earning $3 an hour. And one day he was in a bar and realized that the owner, manager, whatever, was bitching because whichever person was supposed to be coming, earning $2,000 a week, was late. And he's like, screw this, I'm going to become a musician. He literally just went out and bought a guitar and started learning how to play.
Yeah, self-taught.
But he was 32 before he actually started to really play music.
Mm-hmm.
which is way older than you'd expect. And I think it gave him a very humble outlook on the whole thing.
I think that's also a refreshing change from a lot of the people we've discussed. You would think that we would have come across that with last week's subject, Tiffany, who also did not come across certainly arrogant and self-entitled, which I don't want to say I would have given her a pass if she did, because I hate that attitude. But I think when you sort of hit it big later in life, you're at a bigger position to handle it. It's probably why a lot of young athletes go broke. You become a multimillionaire at 20 and you're useless by 28.
Yep. Well, and you see it with so many young stars that just burn out. They, for whatever reason, usually get involved with drugs and alcohol or just get too high on themselves. And it's an unfortunate reality of fame, I think. So I think with Bill Withers, his personality had developed before he got into music. And he, when Ain't No Sunshine started getting airplay and becoming popular, he refused to quit his job building 747 toilets because he figured it was just fleeting and nothing was going to come of that any further. So it's even watching that documentary, he's making jokes the whole time. You know, he's talking about building toilets, and he talks about how he was putting cameras in them. So if you've ever taken a dump on a 747, he knows you intimately. So he's got wit to him.
I guess you've seen a lot of drunken people stagger into that toilet and just lean on it when they weren't
strong.
That's come for the insight, stay for the bad jokes.
If they're here and have listened to more than one of these episodes, they definitely are okay with bad jokes.
And I think that's what I also love about Bill too, is just how humble he was, and just even the jokes he was making in that documentary. We were talking about, look, okay, all of a sudden now I'm handsome. And he's not a bad-looking guy, but
yeah,
he's
never could get a woman until fame makes you really handsome.
Although it was sort of interesting, I think there's a few things that we didn't really learn about Bill. That I think there is a bit of a dark side here that just never really came out. I mean, he did sort of fall into a bit of that trap, but it was never talked about. His first wife was an actress who we don't learn really anything about. I didn't really look too much into her.
I couldn't find much on her. They were married, he said, because he wanted to prove it to the people back home that he could marry one of those Hollywood actresses or something stupid like that. They were, something I read said it was abusive. I don't know in what sense or who was abusive towards whom, but it was obviously a tumultuous, very short-lived marriage. I think it was less than a year.
And then he did remarry, which I believe he stayed with until his passing.
Yeah, Marcia, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Marcia, something like that. And she's an MBA. She manages his business. She basically is the one who has the say on licensing and all of that stuff. And I think she said that basically she and a friend walked into a show, went to go sit down at an empty table. It had a reserved sign on it, and it happened to be his table. So they started chatting, and that was that. Just kind of a nice, down-to-earth kind of story. She's quite a bit younger than him. I think he must have been close to 40 and she was in her early 20s, but that's neither here nor there.
It worked out.
And they're happily married still.
Yeah. Well, not anymore.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Till he died last year, let's say.
Yeah. So I guess this was his second hit, because as you mentioned, Ain't No Sunshine went number 3. Or was it number 2?
I thought it was 2. Either way. It did well.
It did well, yeah. I mean, it did well. I would argue that I think it might be the song he's now most known for. I mean, for a long time, it was Lean On Me. I think
because that travesty of the remake that we'll probably talk about, which also went to 1, I think that perhaps in some ways, there's a lot of younger generations that don't necessarily associate Lean on Me with Bill Withers.
Yeah,
Whereas
Club Nouveau.
Ain't No Sunshine is Bill Withers. I don't know that anyone, I'm sure people have covered it, but I don't know that anybody's really done a well-known, well-done cover of it.
Yeah, I do have a few things to say about the Club Nouveau version when we get to it.
Well, why don't we get to it?
Should we just fast forward right to that and then come back to this song?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. In a vacuum, if you didn't know what the original was, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. It was peppy and happy, and the original is about, it's about brotherly love and friendship, and it's about loving your neighbor and like support.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Club Nouveau is more about being there in the good times.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're like, you're right. Bill Withers' version, it could be anywhere from, all right, you just lost your house in the tornado. We're gonna help you out. In the coal mine, yeah, somebody died. All right, well, I'm gonna be there for you, and I'll go.
Yeah.
Club Nouveau's version is like, oh shit, I thought you were gonna get her number, dude.
Yeah. And I kind of got that, like, well, that terrible "We Be Jamming." Like,
yeah.
Oh, that just ruined the song. Like, you were doing okay. Why did you have to add in that fake reggae BS?
Because they couldn't help themselves. They just could not help themselves. They thought, we're really going to tap into this. We're going to tap into this whole Jamaican beat. And that's going to, you know what? They went number one with it. So, and we don't ever have to talk about it because technically we just did.
That was kind of it. I just found it wasn't terrible. It was probably my first memorable exposure to that song. And parts of it are still, when I hear that song, certain parts still stick in my head over Bill Withers.
There's something, though, to be said, though. When you do a remake that's popular, people will seek out the original. And when they did the movie 1989, like a couple of years later, they were referencing that version of the song. I was going to do my dramatic reading of Morgan Freeman's, you smoke cat crack, don't you? You don't want to live? Jump off I forgot the damn thing. I even looked up the script and I couldn't have. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Sims. Yes, you do, Sims. You smoke crack. Morgan Freeman did very well after that. I don't think we ever saw Sims again.
I don't think so, no.
Because in the post credits, Morgan Freeman did throw him off the school.
Did they?
Yeah, well, I think so.
Did they do post credits in movies that time? Like,
well, it's an Easter egg. But you just got to keep going on the VHS. It was there. I think it was there.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But my opinion of the Club Nouveau version really is basically that it's all right. It's got too many claps and thuds and thumps that overtake the background track, overtakes the melody in too much of it.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
There's no soul to it at all. Having said that, I consider this like something that was 2 years away from being on the Pretty Woman soundtrack. It's like that type of peppy shit about topics that really aren't that peppy. It just seemed to be all about Pretty Woman. I mean, it's like, well, she's the prostitute that made good. She's a prostitute. This isn't exactly like even other songs like that. The King of Wishful Thinking. I'll get over you. I know, well, because I'm the King of Wishful Thinking. I like sucks.
With snappy beat.
Yeah, it's at some point we have to really dissect.
Well, also, I mean, 1987 was great for remakes of old songs. Like, well, look at our song last week with Tiffany, and the week after that immediately followed that was number one.
Was that Money Money?
No, it wasn't Money Money. It was the other, the same original band.
La Bamba?
Oh no, it was Money Money. It was totally Money Money. Yeah.
You know, it's sort of
So
bad when you're saying, hey, which remake? And there's so many different possibilities that comes up.
yeah. So it was the era of remaking. Seems to just be the formula for a number one hit in the late 80s.
So Bill managed to remain relevant, or at least on the chart wise, almost despite, I don't want to say despite himself to a certain degree, but partially. And that, but mostly because, you know, and he said this in the documentary that he wouldn't sell out and he hated that word. Well, you know, sold out. Basically, if you're selling out, it means you're selling out tickets. I mean, you're doing something. But Bill Withers was always true to Bill Withers without coming across like an asshole, at least from what we saw.
Yeah.
We're only
I
getting one point of this view.
in everything I read and interviews, and there was a lot of obit articles about him, and it always seems like he was a pretty even-keeled, honest, true to himself kind of guy. I I didn't get any real impression that he was a dick.
He probably wasn't, but you know, at the same time, maybe I don't even want to go here because at the same time, I'm lending credibility to the thought that, hey, maybe there's a record producer that wasn't an asshole. That's probably not true.
I was gonna say everything in these stories really sounds like these record producers were assholes. Well, it sounds like his first label was decent and but it was led by a black man
Mm-hmm.
who let Bill Withers do what he want, sing the style of soul that he wanted to sing, and not force him into any sort of archetype or
Mm-hmm.
trope. And then that label went under, and he signed with
Is it
crap. Was
Columbia?
it
I think
Columbia? Might have been Columbia.
doesn't matter. They're like, like
They all merged and separated and merged, and one it seems to be the same as the others. But and at that point they were trying. What did he call them? The black spurts. They're the white dudes that had some major insight into black culture, and they were trying to tell him he needed horns and he needed a certain length intro and he needed this and that and the other thing, and he basically was like, nope, I ain't doing that.
with that. He did have like one pretty big hit in the what was it, '77, Lovely Day. Was that under Columbia? I think it was.
Yeah,
So I
I
think he
think
got out.
Lovely Day and just the two of us both were under Columbia, but
Yeah, but
he
just the
had a
two of us though,
5.
really, that was more of that was something that he produced and then collaborated with Grover Washington when he wasn't
Yeah,
doing his own. At that point, he just was like, "Meh, I don't care." And
yeah.
that's, I think, another great thing about him. He is so down to earth that he's not materialistic, and that's a very rare thing because usually when we come across that, it's all about love of the art, man. It's all about that. It's like, okay, I got for Bill. It's like, all right, I got everything I need. I don't need to buy anything more. I'm going to raise my family.
He also has a net worth of something like $40 million.
And a lot of that is because he managed to keep.
It's royalties from decades of 3 or 4 really popular songs for
Mhm.
sure. And you can bet when he retired, he didn't have that kind of money. But yeah, he basically just said, I mean, he had a 5 record deal.
Mhm.
He put out records that he wasn't super happy with because he was forced to.
Yeah.
And then he's like, nope, I'm out, not doing this anymore. And he just backed off, walked away. He would have been early to mid 40s.
Yeah.
And
To be fair, once you're in that range, unless you're in country, generally artists don't produce a lot of hits from their mid 40s and beyond.
yeah,
It
but
could happen.
soul and R&B artists will keep performing and putting out. They might not put out a ton of new material, but they'll keep touring for
But that, I think
decades.
that's the more interesting thing. I mean, like, I guess what I was trying to say is he was unlikely to get another big hit just because at that age, a lot of people, because it's still a young man's game, you know, they weren't, it's a lot harder to generate that type of success past 45. But to your point, he could have made mint touring, which he pretty much didn't do.
No, and I think he said it in the documentary that he goes, he just lost the taste for showing off. That he just
Yeah.
didn't want to do it anymore.
One of the things I sort of love about this, listening back to Bill Withers, all these great songs are 40, 30 years old. how awesome that they don't age. We've talked about songs much younger than that sounds so dated. And there's nothing about his brand of music that sounds dated in the least. Nothing to me.
No, you could put out some of those songs now and they would be extremely popular.
I could easily see any one of those songs sort of like being used. Not that there's a lot of big films anymore, but I mean, in a film, or maybe in like, has any one of those been used in Guardians of the Galaxy? Because we talked about that in one of our early shows, right? It's just like what that sort of did.
That was one of the first shows we did.
Yeah, Brandy, you're a fine girl. And that just sort of like brought more, it's probably why I picked it.
Yeah, I don't know, but Guardians of the Galaxy has phenomenal music, like across the board. They knocked it out of the park with that soundtrack. But yeah, I don't know if any of his stuff has been. That's an interesting question.
I don't think so, but I mean, again, it could be you. I just could see it getting a new life, almost like what's that song by Journey? Don't stop, got another run because of the.
Don't Stop Believing.
Do you know I actually sort of compared it in a way, Bill Withers to Journey, when I was sort of doing this a bit? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like, how the hell did I do that? Bill Withers staggered his hits, because even though Just the Two of Us was a Grover Washington, Bill Withers was all over it, and he got a lot of that. So he never got too big. Journey, they would have one hit, like all their hits are pretty much staggered over albums. I saw some old interview they did where they said, like, thank God we weren't Boston. They used up everything they had in the first album. They had nothing left.
Yeah, Boston Greatest Hits is basically just the one album.
Yeah, and yet the one that went number one is not from that album.
Excuse me, my dog is knocking, asking to be let in.
All right.
She gets quite demanding.
Nah, it's all good. All good. Opal wanted to be heard. She's heard about Jasper sort of crowbarring things on the show.
Opal.
Hey, Opal.
That's my dog.
I kind of enjoyed that. So great things that we can do on video.
Right?
Yeah. So any parting thoughts on Bill Withers before I tell you what monstrosity we've got next week?
Well, I had one thought, and I mean, it appears that he was, for the last 30 years, actually recording things in his own studio. Never really stopped noodling around and doing stuff, and he's collaborated with a few different people doing stuff, I think mostly for himself, but his wife made a comment that she wished he would put some of that out there again. So I'm really wondering if maybe in a couple of years, when the grieving gets a bit easier, if they'll put out an album of his post-career stuff.
Maybe his daughter will do that, because she was...
Because she's a writer, recording artist. I think it would be really interesting. So I'm kind of hoping that they do something with that.
Yeah, so hopefully she does that, does not do it sort of the way that Natalie Cole did that with her dad. Which was basically Natalie Cole sings with her dad's dead friends. Oh, no, she sang with her dad.
Oh, with her dead dad.
No, yeah, sorry. I'm thinking of a Saturday Night Live skit where they had what's her name? Ellen Cleghorn pretend to be Natalie Cole, and then it was just basically her singing with her dad's dead friends. And then like John Goodman comes out as Fat Elvis and shit like that. No, that was back when Saturday Night Live was funny. I don't know. That's a long time ago.
That's a whole different discussion.
Yes, definitely so. Oh yeah, actually, I forgot to mention, because when you mentioned that the whole Black Spirits bit, I think one of his last things, the nail in the coffin, but was when one of them wanted him to cover "In the Ghetto" by Elvis. Yes. And wow, I don't even know what to say. No. I actually like "In the Ghetto," kind of, but it's a guilty pleasure because I feel like I shouldn't like it. Maybe because I just like the way Elvis can sort of belt that. Yeah. My dad's an Elvis guy, so I mean, like, there's a bit of, I'm a bit of an Elvis apologist, even though I think that he was.
There's a time and a place for Elvis.
If Elvis didn't look like Elvis, we wouldn't know who Elvis is.
That could be said about a lot. 60+% of popular musicians, especially in the past 30 years, 40 years.
All right, well, not who we're talking about next week.
Oh dear.
Okay, let's see if you can guess from this.
Oh.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
Hey, Mickey.
I knew you were going to get it as soon as I started.
I can't think of who the band is, though.
It's not a band. It's a one-hit wonder named Tony Basil.
That's right.
And I've already done a bit of pre-work on her. This woman is fascinating.
All right.
Yeah, I do. Full disclosure, I hate the song. I'll talk about why I hate it next week. I can't hate her. I thought I could. I don't anymore. This woman has had one hell of a life.
All right. Well, I look forward to learning about her.
That's probably something you didn't think you were gonna ever say, because I know you look through all the number ones and you've been passing that one over.
I don't know. There's a lot of number ones. I mean, we're looking at 50+ years of them.
There are, when we sort of get through all the corny shit, we're going to rename the show, How the Hell Did This Go Number 2? Because there's a lot of that also.
Yes, there is. And I think we'd find a lot of number 2s that are pretty much number 2. Yeah. You get the poop joke. That's all I was going for.
Oh, no, you did it well. Actually, I'm usually the one who does all the lowbrow shit. So, lowbrow shit. See what I did there? All right. Well, let's just end this crappy situation and call it a show. Stay safe, everybody, wherever you may be.
Good night, Kirk. Good night, everybody.